Guys, this is genuinely a drama that has pissed me off. And you know something that made me even more upset? One of my fans recommended this topic to me as one of the people who has upset me, wanting me to cover it in such a way in which I would become the people who have upset me. And that essentially motivated me to make a segment about this topic, but to clarify and to perhaps remove some of the mud from the waters and depoison the well a little bit. You see, this is kind of something that strikes a little close to home for me because, well, look on my wall right there. As you can see, I'm a real Super Earth patriot, okay? And what I mean by that is I like blowing up bugs, robots, and squids in a funny video game where you and 3 friends blow each other up and shoot each other with friendly fire while trying to do objectives. But, you know, that's the main part of the game is the blowing each other up and shooting each other with friendly fire. That's like most of the game. But I love this game. Helldivers 2 is amazing. I think most people who have ever touched it agree it's great. Now, it came out about a year ago and took the internet by storm. It's heavily inspired by Starship Troopers, Warhammer, StarCraft, that kind of thing. And it's a sequel to the original game, which was more just the same thing, but top-down rather than third-person FPS. Oh yeah, a lot of Halo inspiration too, of course. War of the Worlds had some inspiration. Terminator as well inspired it. A lot of pop culture inspiration made this game, and it is a heavy parody of a lot of things. It's a parody of the media that inspired it, but a very, like, loving parody. It's a parody of the military-industrial complex of the United States, the idea of imperialism and war. It parodies and sort of criticizes these things. Very on the nose, by the way. Like, it's not... Like, for instance, a new faction just got added to the game called the Illuminate, and they kidnap humans, and they transform them basically into zombies, and Super Earth has deemed the zombies, they call them the Voteless. You know, this is a game that is very much not hiding or subtle with its political satire, right? And because of said political satire, there are 2 groups. Actually, I should say there are 4 groups. You've got the people who recognize the political satire, and they appreciate it, and it adds to the experience of the game, and they find it both fun and funny when they play the game. Because of, like, the political satire and the actual mechanically fun aspects of the game, like mowing down hordes of enemies and blowing massive buildings and enemy structures up and everything. Very fun game. But then you've got the people who do not see the satire. They take everything at face value, and this is where it splits off into another group. You've either got the people who do not recognize the satire, they take it as face value, and they literally fall for in-universe propaganda. It's mind-blowing stuff. They will fall for literal in-universe propaganda and get into actual nerd rage fights with you if you dare to insist that the reason Super Earth has to continue dealing with the bugs is because they specifically plant the bugs on planets in order to facilitate their mass slaughter for more E710 production. They will literally get mad at you for this because Super Earth didn't say that, you know? Like, and they're not being ironic. They legitimately fall for in-universe propaganda. And then you've got the people who don't recognize the satire, and they see it as, that is a crock of crap, Zan, and you know it? What are you talking about, Canada's Joel? Do I need to, like, nuke you out of chat? I have no clue what you're talking about. Chuds are just mad they don't have this level of camaraderie? I have no clue what you're talking about right now, but it's probably something stupid if you disagree with me. Sorry, bad joke? Okay, yeah, definitely a bad joke. Anyway, so, as I was saying, you've got the people who don't recognize the satire, and instead of defending or falling for the satirical propaganda in this overly exaggerated fascistic empire that's depicted in the game, they see the devs, they see it as the devs endorsing fascism, basically. They completely miss the fact that they are depicting this awful setting, and they are presenting it so seriously while it is so blatantly silly for the sake of satirical comedy, but they see it as just them doing it unironically. And then you've got the people like me, who just enjoy the game and appreciate the political satire. But, like, these three groups have been having a bit of a tug-of-war over how to enjoy Helldivers for quite some time now. And I feel like it's kind of reached a fever pitch now. For those that aren't really familiar with what Helldivers is like, what it's about, I'll play a quick trailer for the newest update that just came out, Omens of Tyranny. I know that not everyone here is a Helldivers 2 player, and so this very short video will just kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about here when I talk about how, like, blatantly this is progressive satirizing a right-wing, hyper-nationalist, imperialist society. Much like Starship Troopers. The movie, not the book.
They arrived without warning, laying waste to our peaceful colonies, crushing all resistance. They stole our citizens' homes and their minds.
And their right to vote.
And something much, much worse, their freedom. But when our citizens are attacked, our greatest heroes arrive to set them free. Together, we will save our people from this tortured existence. For we are those who stand in the way of all tyranny, who will give our lives today for a freer tomorrow, who will take back control of freedom. And deliver peace to our homes.
There's quite a managed democracy with this one.
We are the Helldivers.
So, this trailer is far less, like, leaning into the satire than this one, but the game is very over the top about it. Like, everything to, like, the news reports that pop up on your screen in the ship are by a news reporter named Strawman. It's called Strawman News. Strawman News. They talk about having, like, a ministry of truth, and, everything is, like, hinting at the idea of their entire society just being a brainwashed dystopia that is painted very, very thinly to look like a utopia if you have absolutely no media comprehension skills. And that's the problem here. There is, at the end of the day, two groups of people. Those with media comprehension skills and those without it. And both of those the people without the media comprehension aren't just on the right. It's not just conservatives who don't recognize the satire and are like, yeah, super Earth, but unironically. There are also progressives who don't recognize the satire and are criticizing this game as if it's an unironic endorsement of fascism. And if you do not believe me, then let's get to the drama that I was asked to talk about. I was expected to criticize the creators of Helldivers with this one because of a PC Gamer article that has gone viral over the last couple days, and I honestly hope that Arrowhead sues PC Gamer over this article. Like, I genuinely, because they're just lying in the headline. Or, I don't know what you call this. I wouldn't call it lying, but it is being extremely misleading and setting people up for a reaction if they don't read past said headline. Let me go ahead and read this for you guys. But first, let me resume the music. I almost forgot to resume our background music. Helldivers 2 director decides to kick off 2025 by wading into a conversation about DEI. Quote, make good games. Don't make a contemporary political statement, unquote. That is the title, the headline of this article. And when you look at that, you are very quick, if you're a progressive, to be like, oh no, don't tell me the main director of Helldivers 2 is doing that whole don't put DEI in your games, just make good games, and playing into the idea that having minorities in a video game somehow affects the ability to make a good one, which is just a racist talking point. And that is, of course, what this headline is meant to set up. Progressives are meant to get angry at the Helldivers 2 director, and conservatives are supposed to see this as, yo, the Helldivers 2 director is one of us? Yo! But if you read past the headline, you'll find that even in the subtitle bit, like below the headline, they force themselves to clarify that's not exactly what Philsdat said, but they still try to twist it into something that it's not. Jonathan Philsdat tried to clarify his statement by saying he was only talking about things, quote, outside the theme of the game, unquote, which doesn't really clarify much at all. Let's read the article and see what the situation actually was. Read the Twitter interaction that happened that caused all. Actually, no. Let's start by reading this Twitter interaction. Let's read this. So Philsdat here is the director of Helldivers 2. Someone responds to one of their tweets saying, never add DEI to your games. And Philsdat replies, if it doesn't add to the game experience, it detracts, and games should be pure pursuit of amazing moments. A very bottled reply, clearly not really responding to what this person said, just saying, nothing's getting added to our games that doesn't add to the experience, you know? It'd be like if someone replied, why are you putting toenails in your burgers? And they replied, we're not putting anything in our burgers but our, but love and all the ingredients that we publicly advertise. A very PR response. Someone responds, how would DEI have benefited Helldivers 2? And he replies, I don't like labels, but mankind is united in its extreme xenophobia on Super Earth. Hashtag inclusion, so maybe that's DEI? I really don't care. Make good games, don't make a contemporary political statement. And of course he clarifies that he means political stuff that doesn't have to do with what the game is talking about. Now, the way that this is being framed is to try, obviously you've got conservatives who are trying to make it seem like Philsdat is like an anti-woke, anti-DEI chud. He's very clearly not, especially considering he's the director of a game that, literally parodies everything that the right wants for America and for humanity. You know, like, I would assume he wouldn't be conservative. But people have just interpreted these very, like, I don't know how else to put it other than most normal people are not as immersed in the culture war as we are. They don't hear, like, DEI in a game and think, oh, this person's like a racist conservative trying to bait a response out of me. They just respond how a normal person would. And a normal person who doesn't know much about this issue is probably going to speak about it much like this. Here he's referring to the fact that all of mankind, regardless of race, gender, sexuality, or anything like that, is united in extreme xenophobia, specifically towards all other non-human species. So kind of inclusion, so maybe that's DEI. Like he even like gives a moment to say, so I guess all of humanity being united is DEI, I guess. He says, I don't care though. These are Swedish devs, by the way. These are not Americans who are like in the American political space, but this dumb fuck who wrote for PC Gamer, what's his name? Andy Chalk, takes this very nothing Twitter interaction and tries to turn it into something that will piss off progressives and get them mad at Helldivers and get conservatives defending Helldivers and start a big fight with all the people involved probably linking this exact article when talking about it. I feel like this was just Twitter engagement bait, knowing that people were going to share this link all over social media when arguing about this topic, and it would get the article a ton of traffic. It feels so cheap to me. Let's read the article, though. After sparking a fury by saying developers should, quote, make good games and not make a contemporary political statement, Helldivers 2 creative director... Okay. Do you think that the guy who made Helldivers 2... You're being very context-phobic, game writer article guy. Let's... Hold on. Helldivers 2... We'll put on another trailer for Helldivers 2, just because I really want to get across to you guys what the game that this guy made is like, okay? Like, I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I don't think somebody who made this game actually means don't make a political statement in your game-related, your game-focused art.
Super Earth, our home. Prosperity. Liberty.
Hi there.
Democracy. Our way of life.
Oh, hello.
But freedom doesn't come free.
No! Sweet liberty! No!
Sweet liberty.
Look familiar? Scenes like these are happening all over the galaxy, right?
By the way, this was very clearly heavily inspired by Desert Storm recruitment ads. Like Desert Storm era recruitment ads. Like blatantly so, like heavily inspired.
Right now, you could be next. That is, unless you make the most important decision of your life. Prove to yourself that you have the strength and the courage to be free.
Join the Helldivers. Become part of an elite peacekeeping force. See exotic new life forms. And spread managed democracy throughout the galaxy.
Managed democracy.
Become a hero. Become a legend. Become a Helldiver.
I do not believe the guy who made that game literally meant that you should not have contemporary political statements in your media. What I'm going to guess is that what he said and what he meant to say, or how it's meant to be interpreted, is that the point of video games, traditional video games, is to be fun. That the fun is the first and foremost thing that should be focused on as a game developer. And this is completely true. That is a good mindset. However, that does not mean, and clearly he believes this because of the game that he made, that a game cannot simultaneously be fun while also making political statements. This game might be the loudest and proudest political statement of a game ever. This game is more dripping with politics and political satire and political critique than fucking Metal Gear. Metal Gear is apolitical compared to Helldivers. The framing of these tweets is blatantly scummy. Now, I may be wrong here, but I know I'm not wrong about this. I know a person who worked on Helldivers 2. And so I know because of this person that Helldivers 2 was made by very good people, chill people. They're not like right-wing political, like right-wing chuds or anything. But even outside of that, like, special inside knowledge, I'll call it, Philstat runs a Swedish game development studio. I mentioned this before. Not super immersed in the political culture war, there's that. But don't you think someone who's a Swede, who doesn't necessarily, or I assume a Swede, who doesn't necessarily have English as the first language they ever knew, probably Swedish, maybe they're responding to people's statements in English might be a little bit narrowed down. little bit, like, not as verbose in their response as you might like. I don't know. I just think it's a possibility. Maybe I'm being overly charitable. You guys can tell me. Philstat's initial statements came in response to a user on X who urged him to never add DEI, an acronym for diversity, equity, and inclusion that's become a high-profile bugbear for the anti-woke crowd in future Arrowhead games. If it doesn't add to the game experience, it detracts, Philstat wrote. I don't think they were referring to future games. They were referring to don't add DEI to... They said never add DEI to your games, including Helldivers. I don't think... Is this guy fucking stupid? He knows that... Does the person who wrote this article know that Helldivers 2 is a live service game, and that the statement never add DEI to your games would also mean never add it to Helldivers 2, which is a silly statement. There's like 2 people you can speak to on your spaceship in Helldivers. One of them is a woman, the other is a black guy, the democracy officer. Those are the only 2 people you can talk to in the whole game. Period. I don't know. I think that's pretty funny. Sweden has its chuds. Oh, it does. It does. But I don't think the game developers who made Helldivers 2 are chuds. Especially not the guy who directed the game. Shortly after, replying to another question about how DEI would have benefited Helldivers 2, he continued, I don't like labels, but mankind is united in its extreme xenophobia on Super Earth. Hashtag inclusion. So maybe that's DEI? I really don't care. Make good games, don't make a contemporary political statement. Superficially, Philstat's comments could be seen as relatively innocuous, but eyebrows were raised because Helldivers 2 is a very overtly political game. A satire of fascism so heavy-handed, it makes Starship Troopers look subtle by comparison. Okay? So you recognize that the creators of this game get it. Okay? It was understandably jarring to see the guy heading up such an on-the-nose It was understandably jarring to see the guy heading up such an on-the-nose anti-fascist narrative to suddenly embrace a keep politics out of games attitude. Guys, I'm going to give you all some real talk right now. Do you want to know why the chuds continuously say keep politics out of games? That's not what they actually mean. You get that, right? That like 90% of what the right says they want or say publicly they advocate for isn't what they actually stand for, and it's just them specifically crafting rhetoric to appeal to the largest demographic possible and convince them to side with their side of the issue. Most people, conceptually, do not want games to be nothing but political statements, or to be preachy with their political statements. Helldivers 2 is not preachy. No one feels preached to by Helldivers 2, despite its messaging being absurdly on the nose. They were able to get away with it being so on the nose by making everything so funny and over the top and satirized. That's how you can get away with that and not make the majority of people feel like they've been preached to or lectured by a piece of media. People don't like being lectured by media. They don't. They actually don't. And the right uses that fact when they push the idea that any form of representation is actually subtle lecturing of the audience about how the world ought to be. That is fundamentally what they are saying with their argument about DEI in games, by the way. That the inclusion of marginalized people in games is a preachy way of shaming the audience and suggesting to them that they are not progressive enough, they don't have, the world isn't diverse enough, the country's not diverse enough, whatever it may be. It's all just bullshit that they've crafted. But when chuds say, make fun games, not political statements, that's not a chuddy thing to say. That's the shit they say in order to appeal to normies because everyone agrees with that fundamental statement. I don't like the idea that progressives see the honeypot arguments that the right makes and then say to believe that is conservative. Like, let me give you guys an example, right? Donald Trump ran heavily in the presidential election on the idea of lowering grocery prices, essentially pushing hard to make his brand in that election. He's going to fix the economy. He's going to lower the grocery prices. He's going to fix inflation. He made that his brand in that election. And imagine if the response from the left during the election was whenever someone said the economy was a problem, their immediate response was to say, you're a chud. You're a Republican. You're a MAGA. Because you're saying the economy sucks. This is a conservative pro-MAGA talking point. No, MAGA appropriated this talking point because it's effective and they want to win. The same goes for the argument of make fun games, not political statements. This is a fundamentally popular idea that everyone in the gaming consumption and making industry agrees with. It is not, by the way, the same as saying games cannot have political statements in them. And it is also blatantly dishonest to frame it as such. This is some of the most infuriating clickbait I've ever seen. Further confusing his follow-up, Philstat took the opportunity to invoke yet another culture war hot point, saying that cancel culture is one of the worst sides of online interaction. I have noticed that the only people who consider referring to cancel culture as something that sucks about being a public figure, the only people who call that a conservative thing to say are people who've never had a public platform. Like, if you've had a public platform and you've been attacked, 99% of the time, everyone refers to that as cancel culture. The tendency of getting attacked, the tendency of getting, like, dogpiled for something that's perceived as wrong, that is cancel culture. And that is basically a way of life online if you're a public figure. Like, everything you do, some percentage of people aren't going to like, and one day you do something that a larger than normal percentage of people don't like, and they're loud enough to make it your problem. Yeah, both sides are cancel-y. Like, cancel culture is just a real thing. If we agree that cancel culture is just the tendency for people to mass together and jump on someone that's pissed them off, it is objectively real. Also, he was literally getting attacked by conservatives, was he not? Like, this entire drama started because he was responding to anger from conservatives demanding that he doesn't put DEI in his games, and he refers to it as getting canceled. He was getting canceled by conservatives. Or I should say, at least the people who were saying don't put DEI in Helldivers. Those are the people that were canceling him and getting mad at him. They were like, how would DEI help Helldivers too? Those were the people canceling him. This article is so fucking shameless, man. I feel like Helldivers 2 is going to permanently be constantly argued over whether or not it is pro-conservative, anti-woke, anti-DEI, or if it's woke, progressive, or not. Like, it's so annoying. The game is clearly a parody of more traditional conservative ideas, essentially, like way more traditional. Like, we're talking like the 1980s to the early 2000s type conservative, hyper patriotic, nationalist, rah America type of shit. It doesn't even apply to most of the modern day right these days. Like, most of the modern day right are super protectionist now and want to pull all presence outside of the country away, like no military presence, no military support for our allies. It's just a very, like, I don't know, Starship Troopers game. This just reminds me of, like, how everybody was arguing a while ago about whether or not Starship Troopers was progressive or pro-fascism. And the fascists were saying it's pro-fascism. There were progressives saying it was pro-fascism. There were progressives saying it's not pro-fascism. And there were fascists saying it's not pro-fascism, and thus it sucks. It was such a massive back and forth. Meanwhile, the creator of the movie, not the book, mind you, but the movie, has publicly come out to say, even in the commentary for the movie, that it is a criticism of fascism and of, frankly, Nazi Germany, is the primary thing that Starship Troopers is criticizing. Once again, I clarify, the movie. This is some frustrating stuff. It really is. Especially, like, there was drama a little while ago. We've got this guy, this little slimy cunt making this article. This is the guy, by the way, who wrote this article, if you're curious. This is the dude who wrote the article. This slimy motherfucker wrote this article. All the while, about a year, or 6 months ago maybe, the Helldivers team got canceled, once again by conservatives, because they were, quote-unquote, protecting trans members of their team and Discord moderation team in their server, because there's an official Helldivers 2 server. They've got multiple trans developers, LGBT developers, and Discord moderators, and part of the rules are no arguing or talking about politics in the Discord. It's a Discord for a game. People don't need to argue over politics in the official game Discord. But the right was getting mad because politics was banned as a topic, but you were still expected to refer to the preferred pronouns of trans users in the Discord. Like, misgendering is against the rules in the Discord, but so is talking about politics. And so they interpreted that as hypocritical and got mad. And the Helldivers team got canceled over that. When that was a drama that happened 6 months ago, coming out and making an article about how the director of the game is actually becoming like a anti-politics chud, all the while the game that they made is fucking Helldivers 2. What a fucking hack this guy is. This article pissed me off, dude. Like, genuinely. Like, actually pissed me off. I am fully triggered. My blood pressure is actually higher than normal right now. Listen, I'm curious to see from you guys. Am I just, like, overreacting to this article? Or do you guys also feel like it was blatantly taking something that was an absolute nothing burger and trying to pin a political ascription to this guy in order to rally up the traffic of anger around it? Like, using that guy who directed Helldivers 2 as a way to drive clickbait. Nah, bro, it's so annoying. It's inflammatory bullshit for shit. Bullshit for shit. I feel like it was disingenuous. I'm with you. His statement is literally something I agree with. Like, if we all agree that actions speak louder than words, why should an interpretation of something he said on Twitter matter more than the fact that he literally made a game that is one of the loudest progressive political statements to ever grace the face of the gaming industry? Clearly, if we agree that actions matter more than words, and I think they do, then we should look at the actions. If anything, the clickbait sucks ass and no one reads the article anyway. Well, that's the thing. They read just the first headline, and the headline is where all the lies are. And then it immediately clarifies itself right after for plausible deniability. But no one reads past headlines anymore. I mean, I do. That's how I knew to get mad. Also, I'm sorry, I just wanted you to cover it. I did not intend for you to criticize it when I posted it in suggestions. It's actually all good, Wild Rose. I'm actually glad you recommended it to me, because it ended up being a good segment, but it was a segment about how sometimes people on the left, or I guess pretending to be on the left or trying to use those on the left, will frame things dishonestly in order to get your attention because it benefits them. And that's what happened here, and I called it out, and I hope that everyone here is better at recognizing these things in the future. It's kind of the point, right? Maybe you guys learned something. If you did, of course, Perhaps leave a thumbs up on this stream or on this video when it goes out on its own. Every single like goes a long way to boost the channel and the algorithm. Whether you're watching live or after the fact, it really does mean a lot. It's totally free and takes half a second, so please, 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 consider hitting that thumbs up button. It really means a lot, so thank you to everybody who does that. And of course, if you haven't already, consider leaving a comment as well. It really helps as well. Comments and likes, massive. Subscribe and ring the bell icon if you haven't already, so that YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload new videos. Follow my social medias, linked down below in the description as well, including my Blue Sky and my fan Discord server. And finally, if you want to support me directly, financially, help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, then consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buy some Xander Hall merch through the Streamlabs link down below in the description. Regardless, though, of how you support me, thank you so much for watching, as always, and I hope to see you all again. Have a good one.